Notification sounds punctuated the silence of Mia Chen's apartment like a digital heartbeat. Tap, scroll, comment. The rhythm had become as natural as breathing to her. Outside her window, the city pulsed with life, people walking to coffee shops, laughing with friends, racing to meetings, but Mia noticed none of it. Her world had shrunk to the 6.1-inch screen that rarely left her hand. Just 5 more minutes, she mumbled to herself. The same promise she'd made 3 hours ago when she first woke up. Her alarm to start work had long since been silenced, her morning routine abandoned for the more pressing need to check overnight notifications and respond to comments on her latest perfectly filtered photo, an artistic shot of a coffee cup and laptop that suggested productivity she hadn't actually achieved in months. Around her, evidence of her disconnection from reality accumulated. Unwashed dishes colonized every surface. Laundry lay in forgotten piles. Half-empty delivery food containers attracted fruit flies, and unopened mail, including final notice bills, created paper mountains on her once stylish mid-century coffee table. It hadn't always been this way. Just 18 months ago, Mia had been rising through the ranks at a boutique design agency, her portfolio growing with impressive client work, her social circle vibrant with creative friends. She had been known for her meticulous attention to detail and her ability to transform conceptual ideas into visual masterpieces. That Mia seemed to exist now only in the carefully curated Instagram grid that bore less and less resemblance to her reality with each passing day. As the afternoon light shifted across her unwashed bedsheets, Mia's phone battery flashed a warning. The familiar panic rose in her chest, the thought of disconnection, even temporarily, sending her heart racing. She reached for the charging cable, knocking over a glass of day-old water in the process. "Damn it," she muttered, watching the liquid seep into her already stained carpet. She glanced around for something to mop it up with, but the effort required seemed monumental compared to the dopamine hit waiting just a tap away. The water would dry eventually. Her followers wouldn't wait. What Mia couldn't see was that while her virtual connections flourished, her real life was evaporating just like that spilled water, slowly, silently, but inexorably disappearing into nothing. Mia hadn't always lived this way. 5 years earlier, she had graduated at the top of her design program, portfolio brimming with promise. Professors had praised her unique aesthetic, the way she blended digital precision with hand-drawn warmth. Her thesis project, an interactive experience that explored the tension between connectivity and isolation, had won a student award and landed her the job at Prism Design Collective. The irony wasn't lost on her during rare moments of clarity. She had become the very subject of her acclaimed work, trapped in the paradox of being constantly connected yet profoundly alone. Her descent hadn't happened overnight. It began with innocent professional networking, building her personal brand online, showcasing her work, connecting with industry peers. Then came the metrics: followers, likes, shares. The quantification of her worth through digital validation became addictive. When Prism lost its biggest client and laid off half the staff, including Mia, her online presence became both escape and identity. "You'll bounce back," her sister Emma had assured her. "Your talent is undeniable." But applying for jobs required facing rejection. Freelancing meant dealing with difficult clients. Social media, however, offered immediate approval. The algorithms rewarded her constant engagement with dopamine-inducing notifications, and the boundary between professional networking and compulsive scrolling blurred, then disappeared entirely. Emma tried to stay connected. Their weekly coffee dates became monthly, then sporadic, as Mia canceled more often than she appeared. When she did show up, her attention remained divided, her eyes constantly dropping to her phone. You're not even listening," Emma had said during their last meeting, reaching across the table to gently lower Mia's phone. "Sorry, just responding to a work thing." Mia had lied, though she hadn't completed a paid project in weeks. Jake, her former colleague, and once potential romantic interest, still sent occasional texts. "Got a client who needs a designer with your aesthetic. Interested?" The opportunities lingered in her inbox, unanswered, as pressing as the unpaid electric bill she kept ignoring. Her friend group had once been vibrant gallery openings, creative workshops, weekend hikes capturing photos of actual landscapes rather than staged flat lays. Now, they existed primarily as avatars who occasionally commented on her posts, their real-world invitations dwindling as she repeatedly declined, or, worse, agreed to attend only to back out at the last minute. "Are you okay?" Her friend Sasha had texted after Mia missed her birthday celebration. "We haven't seen you in months. Super busy with work." Mia had responded, while in reality she had spent the evening completing quests in her favorite mobile game, advancing to level 87, an achievement that had felt monumental until a momentary satisfaction faded, leaving her emptier than before. Physically, the signs of her addiction were becoming impossible to ignore. Dark circles permanently resided under her eyes from late-night scrolling sessions. Headaches plagued her from constant screen time. Her wrists ached with the early warning signs of carpal tunnel syndrome. Her once-toned body had softened from inactivity, her skin pallid from lack of sunlight. Yet in her photos, carefully angled and filtered, she appeared vibrant and engaged with life. The disconnect between image and reality grew wider with each posted lie. The breaking point began with a missed call from Emma. Mia noticed it only hours later, as she emerged from a social media trance to realize the sun had set without her noticing. 3 voicemails followed the call, unusual for her typically text-preferring sister. "Mia, please call me back. It's about Dad." Their father, recovering from bypass surgery, had been readmitted to the hospital with complications. The family had been trying to reach her all day. By the time Mia arrived at the hospital, pale and disheveled in yesterday's clothes, the crisis had passed, but the damage to her family relationships hadn't. "We needed you," Emma said, her voice low and controlled in the hospital corridor. "Mom was falling apart. I couldn't reach you for 6 hours." "My phone was on silent," Mia lied, unable to admit she'd been so absorbed in her digital world that her father's health crisis hadn't penetrated her awareness. "No, Mia, your phone is never on silent. You just weren't paying attention to anything that actually matters." The words stung with truth, but not enough to break through. Even as she sat in the hospital waiting room, Mia found herself reflexively reaching for her phone, scrolling through notifications for her comfort rather than fully processing her father's condition or her sister's pain. The professional consequences surfaced next. The few freelance clients she had maintained despite her increasingly unreliable work ethic finally reached their breaking points. The app design project she had neglected for weeks culminated in a scathing email terminating her contract. The monthly retainer that had barely covered her rent vanished. "I've recommended you to so many people, Mia," her client wrote, "but I can't keep making excuses for missed deadlines and subpar work. Whatever's going on, I hope you get help." Still, she told herself she could fix things tomorrow. One more day of digital comfort wouldn't make a difference. She'd apply for jobs in the morning, after checking just a few more posts, watching just a few more videos, completing just one more game level. The final blow came without warning. In the middle of a live stream she was watching, her screen went black. The apartment fell into darkness. Confused, Mia tried rebooting her phone, then checked her router, before finally realizing the truth. Her electricity had been shut off. The disconnection notice she had ignored for weeks had not been an empty threat. Panic surged through her body as her phone battery indicator showed 17% her lifeline rapidly fading. In desperate haste, she gathered her phone and charger, intending to find a cafe where she could recharge both device and battery. But her apartment door opened before she could reach it. Emma stood in the hallway, key in hand, expression changing from determination to shock as she took in the state of the apartment, illuminated now only by the fading afternoon light through dirty windows. "Oh, Mia," she whispered. "What happened to you?" The image reflected in Emma's horrified eyes forced Mia to see what she had become. In that moment, her carefully constructed denial crumbled. Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor, the screen cracking a physical manifestation of her fracturing reality. "I don't know," Mia whispered, her voice breaking. "I don't know how it got this bad." Emma stepped over piles of laundry and discarded takeout containers, navigating through the chaos to reach her sister. "I've been worried for months. We all have. My power's out," Mia said numbly. "My phone's almost dead." "That's what you're worried about right now?" Emma gestured at the squalor surrounding them. Look at this place. Look at you. When was the last time you showered? Ate a real meal? Talked to someone face to face without checking her phone every 30 seconds? Mia had no answers. The truth was she couldn't remember. Days had blurred into weeks, weeks into months, marked only by social media trends and game updates rather than real-world milestones. I came because Dad asked about you, Emma continued. He's worried sick, and I've been making excuses, saying you're busy with big projects, that you're doing great. But this, she gestured around the apartment. This isn't living, Mia. As if on cue, Mia's phone emitted the sad chime of imminent battery death, then went silent and dark. The physical withdrawal symptoms began almost immediately. Anxiety tightening her chest, hands feeling empty and purposeless. The phantom sensation of needing to check notifications. I need to charge my phone, she said, her voice small and desperate. No, Emma responded firmly. What you need is help. That night, in her powerless apartment illuminated only by candles Emma had brought, Mia faced her first hours of involuntary digital detox. Her body rebelled with headaches and restlessness. Her mind, deprived of constant stimulation, screamed for relief. She paced. She cried. She begged Emma to let her go somewhere to charge her phone. Just for emergencies, she pleaded. What if Dad needs me? I'm right here, Emma said. If there's an emergency, I'll know. Tonight, you need to feel this. All of it. In the flickering candlelight, they began the painful process of cleaning the apartment, a physical unburdening that paralleled the emotional one Mia needed. Each discarded food container, each pile of laundry sorted, represented months of neglect not just of her space, but of herself. Around midnight, exhausted from cleaning and emotional upheaval, Mia collapsed onto her freshly made bed. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she fell asleep without the blue glow of her screen, without mindlessly scrolling, until unconsciousness took her. The silence was deafening, the darkness absolute. She dreamed of drowning in a digital ocean, notifications floating past like jellyfish, each one just out of reach as she sank deeper into the cold virtual depths. Morning arrived with harsh clarity. Emma had stayed overnight, sleeping on a now visible couch. She had already made coffee using a camping stove she kept in her car for emergencies. We need to make a plan, she said, handing Mia a steaming mug. First, the practical stuff, getting your power turned back on, figuring out your financial situation. Then, the harder part. What's the harder part? Mia asked, though she already knew. Learning to live in the real world again. The practical matters proved straightforward if humbling. Emma paid Mia's outstanding electric bill, refusing her sister's promises to pay her back someday, and instead creating a repayment plan with specific dates. They called the landlord to address complaints about the apartment's condition. They sorted through weeks of mail, discovering opportunities Mia had missed and obligations she had ignored. The harder part began when the electricity returned and Mia's phone, plugged in and revived, erupted with delayed notifications. 30 minutes, Emma said. You get 30 minutes to check anything urgent. Let people know you're okay. Then we're putting it in this. She held up a kitchen safe with a timed lock. 3 scheduled sessions a day until you can handle more. Mia's hands trembled as she scrolled through the backlog. Nothing was truly urgent. Nobody had noticed her 24-hour absence from the digital world. The realization was both painful and freeing. When the 30 minutes elapsed, she hesitated, then slowly placed her phone in a lockbox. The click of the timer setting felt like a cell door closing, but also, somehow, like liberation. Now what? She asked, her voice small. Emma reached into her bag and pulled out a battered sketchbook, Mia's old one from college, salvaged from a storage box. Now you remember who you are without that screen. The real Mia. The first pencil strokes felt foreign. Her artistic muscles atrophied from disuse. But slowly, hour by hour, the familiar joy of creation returned. By evening, she had filled 3 pages with rough sketches, nothing remarkable, but authentically hers, created by hand rather than filtered through an app. That night, when withdrawal again tightened its grip, and she found herself pacing, craving the numbing comfort of endless scrolling, Emma suggested they walk outside instead. under actual stars rather than star emojis, breathing real air instead of recycled apartment atmosphere. Mia felt something crack open inside her, a tiny fissure in the wall she had built between herself and authentic experience. "I used to love this," she whispered, looking up at the night sky. "I know," Emma said. "That's why I'm not giving up on you." The first week of recovery nearly broke her. Physical symptoms, headaches, insomnia, irritability combined with the emotional rawness of facing her neglected life without digital distraction. Each time the kitchen safe opened for her scheduled phone check, she grabbed the device like a drowning person clutching a life preserver, only to feel hollow disappointment at how little she had actually missed. Emma stayed for 3 days, then began gradually withdrawing the training wheels, leaving Mia alone for increasing periods. "You need to learn to sit with yourself again," she explained. Sitting with herself meant confronting the thoughts and feelings she had been numbing with constant digital stimulation. It meant acknowledging the shame of professional opportunities squandered, friendships neglected, potential unfulfilled. It meant facing the underlying anxieties and insecurities that had driven her retreat from real-world challenges. But it also meant rediscovering forgotten pleasures. The satisfaction of cooking an actual meal rather than ordering delivery. The meditative quality of sketching without interruption. The simple joy of a clean living space. The luxury of unbroken sleep without late-night scrolling. 2 weeks into her recovery, Jake called during one of her phone access periods. "Emma told me what happened," he said without preamble. "I have a small project, nothing fancy. Just some logo concepts for a startup. Are you in a place where you could handle that?" The old Mia would have immediately said yes, then procrastinated until the deadline loomed, producing rush work between social media binges. The new, still fragile Mia took a breath before answering. "I can do it, but I need clear parameters. Limited revisions. Realistic timeline." She surprised herself with this boundary setting, a skill long abandoned in her people-pleasing online persona. "Deal," Jake said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "It's good to have you back." The project became her anchor creative work with purpose, deadlines that required presence rather than escape. She established a workspace by the window, where natural light illuminated her sketchbook, and the city life outside reminded her of the world beyond screens. As the digital fog continued lifting, Mia began repairing other areas of her life. She joined Emma for their father's follow-up appointment, fully present this time, taking notes and asking questions rather than checking notifications. She reached out to Sasha, not with a casual text, but with a handwritten letter acknowledging her absence and expressing genuine desire to reconnect. The kitchen safe timer extended from 3 daily phone sessions to 2, then a designated phone hours with the device otherwise stored away. Each small victory a day without checking social media, a productive work session without digital distraction, a real conversation without her hand itching for a phone built upon the last. 1 month into her recovery, the temptation returned full force. A difficult client interaction left her craving the numbing comfort of mindless scrolling. A creative block on her latest project awakened the old urge to escape into digital entertainment. The habit, though weakened, remained powerful. Late one night, alone in her apartment, she found herself standing before the kitchen safe, contemplating the override key Emma had entrusted to her for emergencies only. The rationalization came easily. She just needed a quick break, just 15 minutes of distraction to clear her head. Then she returned to her work. Her hand was on the key when her gaze fell on her father's get-well card displayed on the refrigerator, the father whose health crisis she had missed while lost in her phone. Beside it hung a calendar marking her progress, 32 days of intentional living, of gradually rebuilding what she had nearly destroyed. The key went back into its drawer. Instead, she called the support group Emma had connected her with other recovering digital addicts who understood the unique challenges of living with necessary technology without being consumed by it. Her sponsor answered immediately. "It's normal," he assured her. "Recovery isn't linear. What matters is that you recognize the trigger and reached out instead of giving in." The next day, she took a bigger step and deleted her most addictive apps entirely. Not all her social media. She was still a designer who needed professional networking, but the platforms and games that had most effectively hijacked her attention. "It's about intentional use," her support group leader had explained. Technology's serving you, not you serving it. With each week, her portfolio grew with new, quality work, not the rushed, distracted designs of her addiction days, but thoughtful creations born of focused attention. Jake's small project led to another, then to a referral. Not the career trajectory she had once envisioned, but something sustainable, something that allowed for both professional fulfillment and personal well-being. The apartment transformed alongside its occupant. Plants appeared on windowsills, bringing literal life into the space. Art, both Mia's own and pieces collected from local artists, replaced the bare walls. The dining table, once buried under clutter, became a place for actual meals, sometimes shared with reconnected friends or family. 6 months after her rock bottom, Mia sat in a coffee shop with Emma, their regular sister date, now a cherished ritual rather than an obligation. Remember when your phone used to be a permanent appendage? Emma teased, nodding toward Mia's device, which lay face down and ignored on the table. Sometimes I still feel phantom vibrations, Mia admitted, but it gets easier. The cravings aren't gone, but they're quieter. You look like yourself again, Emma said. Not just physically, but your eyes are present, connected. Mia's phone buzzed when Actual called Jake, whose friendship had cautiously evolved into something more meaningful over recent months. She glanced at it, then back at her sister. Take it, Emma smiled. That's the difference. Now you choose when to connect and when to be present. Later that evening, Mia sat on her balcony, a space once ignored but now furnished with comfortable chairs and potted herbs. Her sketchbook lay open on her lap, a half-finished design taking shape under her pencil. Her phone rested nearby, within reach but not in hand, its role in her life reset to tool rather than master. The notification sound still triggered a Pavlovian response, a slight quickening of pulse, a moment of distraction, but the compulsion no longer controlled her. She had learned to pause, to ask herself, is this serving me right now? More often than not, the answer guided her back to the present moment. Inside her apartment, evidence of her transformation surrounded her. Framed photos of real experiences with loved ones rather than staged images for online validation. Books with dog-eared pages indicating actual reading rather than performative posting. A refrigerator stocked with ingredients for cooking rather than empty space between takeout orders. When darkness fell, she picked up her phone one final time for the day, not to lose herself in mindless consumption, but to set her morning alarm and check tomorrow's weather. Before powering down for the night, she sent a text to her father. Thinking of you, love you. Simple, genuine connection rather than curated performance. As she placed the phone on its charger in the living room, never in the bedroom anymore, one of her non-negotiable recovery rules, she caught her reflection in the window glass. The woman looking back at her wasn't perfect. Recovery remained a daily practice, with occasional stumbles and consistent challenges. But she was present in her own life again, engaged with the world beyond the screen, lifting her fingers to create rather than merely consume. Outside, the city continued its rhythm, people walking, talking, living in the moment. Inside, Mia joined them, fully present in her imperfect but authentic reality, screen-free darkness welcoming her to restful sleep rather than endless scrolling. The next morning would bring new challenges, new temptations in a world designed to capture and monetize attention. But it would also bring real sunlight, actual conversations, tangible creations of life reclaimed one present moment at a time. Camera pulls back from Mia sketching on her balcony, revealing the vibrant city around her. Life exists beyond our screens, friends. It's messy, it's challenging, but it's real. Mia's journey reminds us that it's never too late to lift our eyes, to use our hands for creation rather than endless scrolling, to reconnect with the world and people around us. What digital habits might be taking more from your life than they're giving? How might your relationships, your creativity, your presence improve with more intentional technology use?